Hello everyone, I'm Dhanashree from Supermicro and we're here live at AMD's Advancing AI Day. I have two guest speakers with me here today, my colleague Linda from Supermicro and Ben from Axiado. Linda, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure thing. Thanks for having us, Dhanashree. I'm Linda Yang from Supermicro. As a team, we actually work closely with our partner, such as Axiado. Our goal actually is to build the advanced AI solution and be able to contribute to the bigger AI ecosystem. Ben?
Thanks, Linda. Thanks, Dhanashree. I appreciate you having me here today. So I'm Ben Levine. I'm in charge of product management and marketing at Axiado. And we're really excited to be here at Advancing AI Days because we see a lot of changes in AI infrastructure. And at Axiado, we're working really hard to make AI infrastructure more secure, more efficient, and more reliable, working with partners throughout the ecosystem. We've worked with Supermicro for many years, so we're happy to be here with you today as well.
Awesome. Ben, would you like to tell us a little bit more about what Axiado does and what the mission is?
Sure, happy to. So Axiado builds hardware, chips, modules, as well as software to manage data center infrastructure from the very low levels of hardware to the, from the chip to the server to the rack and above to the data center and even fleet level. We're making that infrastructure, like I said, more secure, more efficient, and more reliable, using intelligence embedded in silicon at the very lowest levels of infrastructure. So we have chips that have AI that are at the very low levels of hardware, seeing what's going on in the system, taking action using AI to determine what should be done in a given situation, and then using our connections to actually implement changes in infrastructure to prevent an attack, keep something from going down or breaking, or just to make the system run more efficiently.
Amazing.
Yeah, actually, I want to add one thing because we're just coming out from Lisa's keynote and very exciting. I think in Lisa's keynote, she mentioned three things. One is, of course, technology leadership. Second, actually, is security. So I think this tightly tied back to what we've just talked about is about the security in general. As the AI infrastructure become a lot more complex and large scale, security automatically will need to actually catch up. So many times we focus a lot on the solution side of it, but then actually security come as an afterthought. But we're excited to hear and partner with Ben and his company that we start with security building for the solution itself so that we are not doing the catch-up work or bandage work. We're doing from the day one, it's designed in, so the security actually grow as infrastructure grow.
Yeah, that's really important, Linda. Security is becoming even more important just because of the cost of AI infrastructure, the value that's associated with the work that's being done on that infrastructure, the value of models. It's very concentrated value that's attracting very determined attackers. So security is even more important. And you're right, it can't be something that's just added on as an afterthought. It has to be built into the system from the ground up. One of the things that we talk about at Axiado is protecting the system below the operating system level.
Yep.
A lot of security solutions run at the OS application level, and if the host that they're running on is compromised, then that security really doesn't have any value. And even worse, things running at that level usually don't have much visibility into the actual hardware.
Yep.
So we're embedding security and intelligence below the operating system, starting from the very first clock tick that the rack is powered up, monitoring not just boot time, but also runtime to make sure that components are attested to, that firmware hasn't been tampered with, looking for anomalous behaviors that might be indicative of some sort of attack,
Yep.
And then taking action. If we see that, say, attack is coming from through a particular port, we can block that port. Or if a particular server has been compromised, we can isolate that server all autonomously before that attack can spread throughout the rack or the data center.
Yeah, that actually reminded me of a conversation I had yesterday with a customer. He was literally asking us, okay, what's Supermicro's differentiator? So I was mentioning to him, well, I said there are certain subtle things people didn't realize until it actually happened. So when you look at Supermicro, we claim we're manufacturer ourselves. We do the full product development life cycle from research to design to development to testing to deployment, everything. Well, come back to what you mentioned about the hardware security. As a manufacturing, we have the capability to actually allow customer to bring their own key to secure the system, secure the hard drive, so that they have full control of the hardware that they acquire from Supermicro itself. So many times people didn't think, okay, that's a huge implication of what manufacturing means to many infrastructure builder itself.
So let me ask you a question there. When you're working with partners such as Axiado, and when you're evaluating new partners to work with, what are the values and solutions that you're looking for? And Ben, I'll move to you next.
Sure, great question. So to me, as you can say, AI is booming, and there are so many new AI companies, AI startups. There's so many new techniques to solve even the same problem. They're various techniques. So to me, actually, it's not the technology first. It's actually people first. I always believe you always have to have the right people, and then the right technology, then the right process, and then the right time. So to me, actually, people is the first.
Well said.
Yeah, Linda, I agree. People are really important. We tend to concentrate on the machines and the hardware in this business, but it is the people who are building and designing that hardware, making the decisions, implementing the systems, and operating them. And we have to make sure that those people are empowered to do things the right way and do them effectively. And the original question was just about working with other companies in the ecosystem to really have effective partnerships and work effectively with other companies. We need to have good relationships among the people in those companies. And we've certainly had a good relationship with Supermicro in the past. So it's nice to be here with you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you, Ben. How do you unify the power and thermal efficiency across all of the different components that make up the data center?
Yeah, great question. I mean, the data center infrastructure has become really complex, heterogeneous. There's all sorts of different types of components, from server trays to switch trays, PBUs, CBUs, all of them have impact on power and thermals. And you really can't use the old legacy approach, which is just to do things at a server level or a tray level. You really need to have aggregation of that information. So we take sort of a hierarchical approach. We have small chips that go at endpoints and that gather and filter information. And then we have more advanced chips that use AI at the server or tray level to aggregate that data and make decisions about whether there's something that's interesting that's going on. And then we bring that up to the rack level where we can correlate things that are going on within the rack. And that's really important because if you're just looking at one tray, you may not see things that involve multiple components that give you important information. Like if all of a sudden there's a spike in network activity that you see in a switch tray and you're seeing a spike in activity in a CPU, that might be indicative of some sort of attack. But if you just looked at one of those data points separately, you wouldn't necessarily know what was going on. So by bringing that all up to the rack level and then using intelligence at that level, you can make decisions and understand what's going on for security, or as you mentioned, for thermal events or for power efficiency. It's having that hierarchical multi-level approach that is really necessary to get the most out of the infrastructure.
Linda, if you have any comments or your take on the same.
Yeah, totally. So Supermicro, we also have our own management software as well. That's why it's super important to have the big ecosystem as well as close partnership, such as with Axiado as well. So I think what happened is if I look at the software management system that Supermicro we have, our focus actually is manage our assets, our inventory of the hardware we deploy and support to our customer. And at the same time, we try to move one layer above to actually help deploy and orchestrate the infrastructure based on customer need. And then because there are more customers who ask, okay, they don't have IT team, they only have software developer, they want to use the whole GPU system, for example, right out of the box, then we also try to go one layer above. So what I'm trying to say here is that there are so many technologies out there that are complementary to each other. again, depending on what our customer need. If they have specific problem that single software cannot solve, guess what? There's a huge ecosystem out there that they can tag on, and together we build a solution for them based on their need. So especially for the agentic AI world, again, agent working 24/7, they're keeping the system busy. As Ben was implying, there are many events are happening. When you will be able to make correlation between those events, it might come out with totally different insight. And when you can build bigger graph of all those events together, have better correlation so that the output or insight will even be accurate. So here again, we're looking at different approach to solve problems that our customer care.
Got it. What are the challenges that you're seeing in this approach today?
To me, it's a speed. So every day, every week, every month, we see new things coming up. Even with partnership, I feel I'm catching up. I'm not doing fast enough because there's so many new things coming, especially with AI is becoming a lot more mature. The models are actually doing a way better work compared with before. They self-learn, self-improve. They actually drive a lot of innovation across the industry. So there's so many new things coming that we continuously to be able to leverage and integrate and actually leverage. So I feel today everything is actually running a lot more faster. Everything is accelerate a lot more faster than before. Take our delivery as example. We normally 12 months is normal. But this time, you typically look at 6 months delivery. That's insane if we just talk about this even 1 year ago. But now it's almost like a norm in the industry. So I just feel speed, to me, is the biggest challenge here.
Yeah, that makes sense. Going back to you, Ben, and your previous point, what are some of the hurdles that you are overcoming today as you unify all of the component level telemetry into a rack level telemetry?
Yeah, it's a great question. I actually want to get back to a point that Linda made earlier, and a word that I think is pretty key, which is complementary. So we need to build complementary solutions because the infrastructure is very heterogeneous. As Linda was saying, things are changing fast. So we're not at Axiado trying to build a monolithic solution. We're building components that can plug into other components in the rack level. And when I say components, I mean hardware or software, and providing telemetry and intelligent insights and things like that that can feed into other parts of the infrastructure. So for example, the telemetry that Axiado Silicon produces is trusted and can be attested, and also can have these higher level AI-driven insights, and that can feed up into other products like the Supermicro rack management software and give it new capabilities, give it more trust in the data that it's getting, and so on. So really the challenge is to figure out if you're just building everything yourself, you can make sure everything works well. If you're trying to build things as part of an ecosystem that can complement other things, then it's really important to do things in a way that you can interoperate. And that involves using open standards wherever possible. And we're a big believer in open standards like OCP and others. And also just building things in an intelligent way that will enable integration and collaboration with other partners. And make that make it simpler and easier. And that involves really making good architectural and engineering decisions up front about how you're going to implement things.
Makes sense. We at Supermicro also value creating an open ecosystem and growing that ecosystem. And I'd love to hear more from Linda on that.
Yeah, totally. I think you actually work closely with me on this. Probably you sense that as well. We totally believe today AI is moving so fast. As a single provider, we cannot actually solve so many complex problems. And luckily, there's so many complex problems out there. And the market, the AI market is so huge. So we do say this is a huge opportunity to be part of the big open ecosystem. Together, we actually work with software partners, of course, hardware partner, that's obvious, but then networking partner, as well as many of the AI startups, channel ISV. So to us, everyone brings some unique value to the table. And then together, when we actually complement each other again, so that we will be able to actually solve customers' problem the best way. Because again, there's so many approaches, so many techniques, so many architecture can solve the same problem. And actually the customers, they might care different aspect of the problem that appears to be the same, because some might care about money, some may care about time, some may care about easiness, some may care about, well, resource. There are various ways. Even look at the same problem, there might be different metrics for different customers. So together, when we have a bigger ecosystem, we can solve the problem with different angles, so that we will be able to serve our customers better together.
Very true. It's all about working together. Moving back to you, Ben, how do you balance the power efficiency, thermal management, and security within a single control module?
Yeah, that's, when you think about the sort of three pillars we like to talk about based on what you're just saying are really efficiency and security and reliability. And traditionally, these have been treated separately. But we realized that actually all three of these rely on some of the same components and information to be effective. So we're really all about building hardware and software that has as much visibility into the system as possible. So we can see what's going on at very low levels, like you talked about, below the operating system. Then we need to be able to have intelligence at that level that can take action and can understand what's going on and what's appropriate action. And then we need to be at a low level to actually take some sort of action. So for all of those, let's look at efficiency, power efficiency. You need to be able to see what's going on at the system level, understand what's going to be happening proactively, and then adjusting things like cooling or power or voltage or frequency to use power efficiently. And it's actually very similar for security and reliability. It's all about having this visibility. It's all about being able to have insights into what's going on and then taking action. And to do that effectively, you really have to have three things. One is you have to be able to be quick. You have to be able to do things fast, because the pace at which things change in rack infrastructure is very fast. So you have to have systems that are fast. Intelligence that's in the loop at that low level, being able to do things without having to go out to, say, cloud AI to take action is really important, because again, that speed is important. You have to be able to react quickly. And then trust is really important as well. So if you have components that are taking action that could have real impact on infrastructure or even damage it, you need to trust that hardware, that it's working properly, it hasn't been tampered with, and it's working on accurate information throughout the system.
So would you say that security and reliability today is becoming a real criteria, or is it still just a checkbox item?
Yeah, I think security, traditionally has been kind of a checkbox item, but people are realizing it needs to really be elevated. The value, again, of AI infrastructure is so high. The cost of any sort of downtime is so high that security needs to be put front and center to keep with the SLAs and to keep the infrastructure running. And like we were talking about, it needs to be built in from the ground up and not just added as an afterthought. And then similarly, reliability, a server that's offline for a second has a cost. And being proactive about maintenance, being able to identify faults and failures before they happen is really important to keep that uptime really high. So reliability, again, with the increased density and cost and scale of these systems, it's become something that's also very important. And they're related in some ways, security and reliability. It's all about making sure that your system is actually up and running and available and can be used. And that's very important.
Linda, I would love to hear your take on the same.
Yeah, totally. I think I came from an enterprise background. So enterprise, there's always the concept of SOA, meaning 3.9, 4.9, 5.9. It's all about reliability and security. So I think if we look at today's many companies, they're AI startups, they started to change that culture a little bit, but then they cannot fully change that principle. What I try to say is that, say for enterprise, their security, reliability, and scalability. So those are the few key actually differentiate them from many of the startups. So they want to satisfy the SLA they promise to their customer. If we talk about a few nights, which means you only have a few hours of downtime the whole year. So what does that mean? You really have to have different mechanism. Could it be virtualization? You have a consistent pool that you can actually distribute and allocate dynamically, or you can have dynamic rule to spin up new capacity to be able to have this always-on experience, or there are various ways to do that. But ultimately, they gotta have this availability to ensure the SLA is in place, especially for enterprise. And today, when you have AI, so many AI startup comes in, that actually brings in a very interesting challenge. One thing I've seen that is that, let's say if every 2 weeks there's a new model, and then you want to adopt that new model into the infrastructure that you have been built, validated, you have a SLA already. But then you have to actually continuously refresh that model itself. It's very hard. And then many times enterprise customers, they want to be able to provide auditing log, meaning maybe 3 versions back, they want to know what model you have been using, what's the behavior, what's the history, so that they can actually have that auditing trail to be able to diagnostic what's going to happen in the system. So because it happens so fast, it kind of become a huge challenge. But then even we know reliability, security are basically a fundamental principle, but the speed that AI is moving is making that super challenging.
Very true. So I heard you say the key differentiators, reliability, security, and scalability.
Yes.
I mean, they're all table stakes, but at the same time, they're big differentiators. Ben, is there anything you would like to add to this list?
I have 2 out of the 3 in my usual list. Scalability is important, though. I should probably add that as a 4th one. But it's definitely security, efficiency, and reliability are the 3 that we'd like to talk about as well. But scalability, yeah, if you can't scale your solution to the scale of modern data centers, then you don't have a solution that's going to be viable in the marketplace. So that's a really important one also.
True.
And I wanted to pick up on something Linda said before, if I can jump back a little bit. You were talking about this ecosystem that we're building out and the partnerships and how important that is. And yeah, we definitely see that at Axiado. I mean, if you look at the scale of what's being built out in AI infrastructure, the complexity of these systems, I mean, it's really just an amazing accomplishment of engineering. And there's no way that any one company could build all this by themselves. Even the biggest companies in the world who are working in this space are partnering with other companies.
Yeah.
So the only way that any of us are going to be successful is by having partnerships, finding out ways to work together, building a real ecosystem of companies that can contribute to the larger solution. And that's definitely something that we believe very strongly in at Axiado is partnering with companies throughout the ecosystem to bring our solutions and form complete solutions that will actually serve the needs of the customers that are out there.
Yeah, indeed, we have the same belief.
Thanks for joining us today, everyone. Hope this was as informative for you all as it was for me. And we're going to wrap up really quickly with one brief question for both of our guest speakers here. Linda, I'm going to start with you. What is the one key message you want to leave our audience with today?
Yeah, totally. To me, is a partner and ecosystem. So as we all work closely with many AI startups, many AI companies, I do look for more companies to come to us because to me, technology have been changing so fast, and all those new technologies actually are very exciting. So I love to learn, I love to integrate, I love to actually work together to solve the problem.
Okay, amazing. Ben, same thing, a message you want to leave our audience with?
Sure. I could repeat Linda's message, but she already said it very well. I do agree with that one as well. I think the biggest thing that we're really seeing is AI infrastructure has really changed the rules as far as managing systems go. And we're really firm believers that we need a whole new paradigm in managing data center infrastructure to keep up with the complexity, the cost, the scale, the power density, all of that. So we really, as an industry, need to be thinking very differently about how we manage infrastructure, and it really needs to be autonomous and secure and woven throughout the entire data center fabric.
Awesome. It's been a pleasure talking to you both today.
Thank you.
Thank you.